Hey, welcome everyone to another FIO Fam Feature. I'm your host, Blockchain Wayne, and today we have Eric Butz. Now, Eric is considered the VP of Engineering. The reason I say considered, we're in a DAO model, but if you want to compare it to traditional roles, that's really what Eric does. He does a whole lot more than that. We're going to get into that. Eric, thanks for joining us today.
Yeah, it's good to see you, Wayne. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. So, we're loving to feature everything that's going on and what people are doing to contribute to moving the FIO protocol forward, which in turn, we're helping to move crypto adoption forward. And you play a vital role in that. And I wanted people to to understand that. But before we get into like what you do at FIO currently, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the space.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I joined FIO in 2019. I came out of Oracle, actually. The company I was at had been acquired by Oracle in like 2008. I'd been there for quite a while when I came in, kind of taken a little bit further back. Let's take a step back. My undergraduate was in physics, but I started working in technology early. I've been coding and in computers forever. And I actually decided to go back and get a computer science degree, a master's degree. And that is really where kind of my early days of technology started. I was working at the National Center for Atmospheric Research back then while I was getting my degree. And I started doing some HTML coding back then for one of the groups. I was really a system administrator for them. And so as soon as I got my degree, a couple of buddies and I started a web development company. So that was about 95. So wow, those were pretty good days. We were out in San Francisco. It was crazy. It was a lot of fun. I mean, it takes its personal toll for sure. It was a ton of work, but a ton of fun. And the vibe back then was, disrupt, kind of giving people access to controlling what information they're fed. A lot of it was marketing. A lot of sites we were doing was marketing and e-commerce based stuff. But really, this idea that you're trying to disrupt certain channels and giving everyone access to this thing called the internet. I remember people being like, www, what the heck is that? And kind of the first ads on TV, I was like, that's what I do. So that was really fun. That company I was at was acquired in the late 90s. I did another startup which hit up against the 2000 crash, March of 2000 crash. I then joined a company called Decisioneering where I was doing simulation and optimization, kind of nerdy stuff type software for a while. And that's the company that was then acquired by a larger company called Hyperion, which like a month later was acquired by Oracle. They say like all roads lead to Oracle when you're in technology, especially with acquisitions, which is so true. So started working at Oracle, working for the man for sure was never my thing, but it was a great group, actually, a bunch of sharp guys, really learning how to integrate into more enterprise level software, B2B stuff. So a lot of fun there. It was while I was there, though, that I kind of, if you look at, that's like the nuts and bolts Eric, but the Eric is this technology, software, computer science, which I love. But also I've been always interested in governance type power structures. And you see a lot of this in startups, like insiders can invest, but if you're not one of the insiders, you can't really get involved in an IPO, and you have to have a certain amount of money in the bank to be able to accredit an investment and things like that. So always been interested in these power dynamics. And so I actually went back while at Oracle and decided to get a master's in public policy, which then I made an interesting decision to continue that on and got a PhD in public affairs, which is a mix of like public policy and public administration. My focus was on organizations and governance of organizations. There's a huge literature on governance, especially in the public sphere, and about a lot of those are how do groups come together when there's no central authority, no kind of central state to organize them, like fisheries or pastures and things like that. So this interesting model that when I started reading about blockchain, so my introduction to blockchain was definitely from the literature and reading up on it in about 2015, 2016. And the overlap there was amazing. Like, oh, here we have this kind of technology, which I love, based governance model where it's completely decentralized, right? So Bitcoin's out there, it's outside of the reach of the quote unquote state. And how is everyone organizing? And then the vibe of blockchain, just kind of listening to everyone, was very, there's some anarchy in there, which I love. There's how do we kind of disrupt in this case, kind of the financial channels. How do we bring finance to everyone? I loved that idea. And that's really when I got into blockchain. As soon as I finished my PhD in 2018, I wanted to go back into startups, which I love. And I wanted it to be, it was all blockchain or crypto. I met David Gold, who was then CEO of Dapix, which is the seed company that created the IP that then became FIO. As the VP of engineering, we built that out, launched it in March, mainnet 1.0 in March of 2000. No, I'm sorry, March of 2020, March of 2020. And then it's been running ever since. It's kind of the background.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Yeah. It was, as you're telling the story, I can see the road leading to blockchain. I mean, because that's where, governance is going. And you mentioned anarchy and there's even a little bit of libertarianism, like peppered throughout the crypto community. And I think more and more people are waking up or open to not necessarily all, but some of those ideals, considering that we're all witnessing what happens with centralized systems, centralized control, centralized governance, when those that are, controlling it, there could be some skewed, some abuse of power or anything. And it's not just necessarily not just in governments, but also in organizations, companies, groups, and the such.
No, 100%. I mean, the difference between is organizations do become powerful, right? But they're known power structures and you kind of work within those. But they're definitely enforced on you as well. And then those organizations, large ones, start to wield their power, get certain what they call rents from government as they become strong lobbyists. And it just really becomes an insider game. I mean, for me, it's like really hits home. I'm not a huge gung-ho investor, but just trying to invest in certain groups and knowing that it definitely takes money to make money and that most of the world does not have access to that is just, and there's so much potential out there, financial potential. But then what I love about FIO now is we are like this community and you'll get developers coming in from everywhere. And it's like, there are a lot of sharp people around the world that when I talk to my kind of traditional business partners, like, we're tapping into this whole realm of open source, unbelievably smart people. And they're still like, well, I'm trying to hire from Denver. I'm from Denver. It's like, oh my, that circle is so small in terms of the talent pool. It's a different view.
Yeah. It not only opens up to the world, but there's so many people that wouldn't even had access to participate in these systems and ecosystems and developments if it wasn't for this technology, which was preceded by, the rise of the internet, which you played a role in. You were there in the early days, and now that's leading to new technology being evolved and the decentralized nature of what we can build. Anybody can participate. So I was telling somebody the other day, it's like ideas that would never have made it, that probably would have died with the creator. Like whoever had this original idea of something that could be created would never have the means or the funding to make it a possibility in the past. And now there's more access to that with what we're pushing to bring about with mass adoption of this whole crazy cryptocurrency blockchain space.
No, 100%. Yeah. I mean, that's the idea. What's we have that communications layer that came from the internet. It is, we call it centralized and that it's run by Google or something like that. But really, a lot of us, we are running our own servers. There may be some access and there are definitely controls and governments are shutting down and controlling it. There's a lot of ways around that as well. So without that we have that communication layer, and now to bring finance into that, like, is really because money's the power, right? Like, let's face it. And when you can start to take that away from kind of these central bank structures, and actually just go point to point on that, which is what commerce is all about. Like, we say we're on these libertarian ideals of, people should be able to control their own money and their own lives and their own finance. Yet we don't really enforce that when we're all filtered through, a large bank somewhere. So I think it's super exciting. I still love the space.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So you've touched on it briefly with your introduction to FIO. So tell us a little bit more about your day-to-day at FIO, and maybe I'll probe on some of the stuff you're working on or what you can share right now.
Yeah, totally. No, as the running the engineering group, we have the development software developers, what I call core chain developers. We're a branch of EOS.io, which is now Antelope. So it's a C++ core chain. We're a layer 1. So we have a set of core developers working on that, as well as the smart contracts that run on top of it. we're not an open contract platform. All our contracts are essentially called system contracts. So they're restricted deployment. And so we have the developers, that core development team, the QA I run, and then you have this whole release management, right? So as we are a delegated proof of stake chain, so we have 21 block producers, and you have to get 15 of those to approve any updates to the chain. They really are the gatekeepers. So I would say like three-quarters of my day is just the chaos of trying to release into this distributed environment software every quarter is what we try and get out there. And that's not including, we got to do hot fixes. And in this environment, a hot fix isn't just like, oh yeah, we'll just push that out and no one will notice. It's like, nope, you got to bundle it up, update a full system contract, get 15 VPs to sign off on the MSIG, and then get it updated, right? So even little things. So you got to really be front heavy, I think, on testing and automated testing, which actually we have a large infrastructure, great, what a good test harness. And so we have to do it. We spend a lot of upfront time. So because that once it's out the door, it's so hard to keep cycling through updates and fixes, So I'd say that's three-quarters of my time. The other quarter of my time is really on the integration side. So again, FIO, what makes it cool and unique, besides being open source and community-based, is what we call our technology providers, or the people doing the integration, the wallets, the exchanges, the dApps, get a chunk of the fees that go through our system. The goal is really to have them be thinking about and encouraging innovation from this group, right? So we have these integrators, but how easy, from my point of view, how easy is it for these integrators to adopt FIO, right? We have obviously an API, but again, every chain has its own quirks about how to bundle up and create transactions, and you got to submit them where layer 1 to our chain. And so you have to sign it in a specific way that may be different from how Ethereum signs it or Cosmos signs it. And we don't have this big interchangeable set of chains. We have, FIO chain. And so when you're going into, tracking new developments, like gaming is huge now, right? So gaming's blowing up. There's great use cases for FIO, at the top level. If everyone probably knows this, but we have the FIO crypto handle, right, as our ease of use naming scheme. So within gaming, that's huge. Like I want to send a tip to not some Ethereum address. I want to send it to, Ninja at Thrasher or something like that. Or I want to be part of, known to be part of a clan in a game. FIO domains are great for that. So when we go in to talk to these games, they have their own development environments. How do we fit into that with our libraries and things like that? So the other piece of that is really trying to think through making our stuff easier and easier and easier, and hopefully cross-chain, as much as possible. So, but yeah, management on half and then innovation, hopefully.
Nice. Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, we've been involved in some interesting conversations recently as far as just the possibilities of what FIO can do, what the protocol can do to help, impact many different areas. So that's exciting to see. And I think a lot of people take for granted, which, the most end users aren't really interested in how everything works. They just want to know that it works. Just like when they get in a car to drive it, they don't care how that engine actually operates as long as they can get there. But it's important to know that someone and a team is working on through all those mechanics that we take for granted, I guess, every day when we use the technology.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. So, and then we have the insiders, which is our partners are all insiders. They know how crypto works. They know everything. Like you get outside of that. And I tell my friends, I'm paid in crypto. I manage my team in crypto. I have these crypto handles. I want to send you crypto that, when I talk about a crypto handle, sure, Eric at, Coinomi or Eric at Edge, they get it. They're like, oh, that's, they're always like Venmo-ish or something like that. But yeah, when you get out the outsiders, those are the people we need to engage in this, because they're the ones actually downloading the wallets and often just hating it. Like they don't even get it, right? So we all know that the usability issues are well known, and hopefully FIO's chipping away at those, piece by piece.
Yeah, man, definitely. We appreciate what you and your team does, because I tell people all the time, this is going to be the standard. There's other protocols out there that work on different chains that may do like a wallet naming service, but nothing is like what FIO can do. And so when you look at what's coming, this could be the standard that everybody's going to use. And there may be a day where they don't even realize it's FIO. That's just the standard they use no matter where they use crypto. But I have a strong feeling we're going to power that.
I mean, that's a good point, Wayne, because part of what makes a standard is, you got to have good technology, you got to have good partners, you got to probably have good marketing and good reach, but you also have to have a model, I believe, that, and not everyone will care about this that uses FIO, but a model that is a decentralized economic model, right? Our economic model is really trying to be based on these integrators, not on like one chain like Ethereum or something like that. Right. So if as long as we can give value, and that's the idea in these crypto tokenomic markets, how do we give value to the users and players within that ecosystem? And our players are, yes, the foundation that builds the software, but eventually it's like, can we funnel foundation down here and have our integrators really be the ones benefiting one and thus wanting to contribute back to it? So if wallets see the value, if exchanges see the value, if dApps see the value, which when you talk to them and they do, it's still difficult because you have signing wallets and all this stuff. But once they see the value, to me, that is why, FIO does have a leg up to become the standard, because it's not, there is a decentralized economic model, which I don't think a lot of, again, not a lot of people think about it, especially outside of blockchain, but those models to me are one of the fundamentals that are kind of disruptive out there. These decentralized organizations, how do they become more powerful than the centralized Oracles and Googles of the world?
Absolutely.
We'll see.
Cool. All right, Eric. So as we wrap up, there's some exciting things that we've released recently with FIO as far as NFT signatures, and we're working with some games right now. But between that and other things you're working on, and that you can talk about publicly right now, what excites you the most about what's coming up with FIO Protocol?
Yeah, I mean, there's stuff that excites me in blockchain, but the stuff that is exciting with FIO is we've been working on a long time for what we're trying to do is wrap the token, right? So the goal, there are a lot of bridges out there to get the FIO token into, say, a WFIO on Ethereum or something like that. But we have a strong belief, again, this model of decentralization, we're not willing to put it on a centralized bridge, which actually probably was good because some of those bridges have been gotten hacked. So really, how do we rely on our block producers, our validators, to become our kind of bridge holders as well? So we're creating this decentralized wrapping feature that will enable us to wrap tokens onto Ethereum, into other chains as needed. And then also, because domains are an NFT, it'll enable us to wrap these NFTs onto like a Polygon, right? So how do we, people, yes, they want to have the utility of a domain, but also trading and, creating, like getting value out of domains. It's not just purely utilitarian is great as well. So our ability to wrap, and that's coming soon. I get asked all the time when exactly it's coming, and I'm not going to say, but no, we're working really hard on that. That's, I think, the most exciting thing coming out. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And that's going to open up so many more possibilities.
Yeah.
Some of what we've talked about earlier. So, all right, Eric, we're wrapping up our time here. Definitely been a pleasure getting your insight and your ideas. So before we go, one last question. You mentioned a lot, I'd ask you what excites you about FIO, but what excites you as far as blockchain? You kind of touched on that a second ago.
Oh yeah. I mean, so just, it is centered around FIO and kind of what I'm looking at, but things like inter-blockchain communication, IBC stuff, which, I'm very interested in other chains, how they operate. On Cosmos, you have the chain of chains. A lot of those chains are really easy to bundle transactions on one chain and have them accepted or kind of validated on other chains. Obviously, that is a great thing for FIO. I want Solana users. I want Cosmos users. If we can put, maybe it takes a contract on the chain, but be able to bridge that into a FIO. So kind of have FIO be a centralized thing that we can host any number of contracts to support any number of chains. I think that might be the future of how we start to communicate, because you're not going to be able to go in and say everyone has to use an EOS.io chain or everyone has to be on an ETH chain. I mean, a lot of people are on ETH now, Ethereum, but not everyone's going to be in the future.
Right.
So I think everyone knows this. The new Antelope group, EOS.io group, is very aware of this. They're building this functionality. So I think that's going to open up a lot of interesting apps and channels once we can start to communicate across chains. So that's what I'd say.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Eric, thanks again for your time today, man. It's been great to get your insight, and thank you for everything you do at FIO. Any last words before we roll?
No, I love it. I love what you do, Wayne. Thanks for generating the excitement. I'm bullish, loving FIO, so loving the environment. Thank you.
Awesome. Cool. Thanks again, Eric. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode. Take care, everybody.